Hello, folks. It's me again, Amanda Enderman, your trusty tour guide in the wonders of the wonderful city, also known as Rio de Janeiro. I was here thinking to myself as to what kind of videos I should do next. You know the drill. And then I remembered that I made a video, a very biographical video at that, about who was Gomes Ferreira de Andrade, and, well, taking the advantage that I recorded the video about the Paraguay War already, and I mentioned several important historic figures in this video. I thought to myself, well, why not make videos in the same biographical style, speaking about these very important figures? So here I am making this video, the first one, which there will be others as well, because there is more than one important historic figure in the Paraguay War, and all of them are very much honored and remembered in Brazil to this day. So here I am bringing you this video about who was Admiral Tamandaré. As I mentioned before, there's a street with his name on it right here in Flamengo. But before I get right on to the theme of the video, I have to remind you that I'm currently offering walking tours through the city of Rio, and all of these tours are described on my website, which the link will be in the description box below, as well as in the first fixed comment. So all you have to do is click there, text me via WhatsApp, that's very important, make your reservations, and let's get to know the city of Rio in person, folks! With me, Amanda Enderman, your trusty tour guide, of course. Now, without further ado, let's dive right on to the theme of the video. He didn't actually have Tamandaré as part of his name. That was a surprise to me as well. His name was Joaquim Marques Lisboa, and he was born in 1807. Here in Brazil, at least in the time of my grandparents and even the time of my parents, there's an expression for when a person behaves in a very by-the-book kind of fashion, following all the rules, being very strict about that, not cutting corners and such, which is to say that that person is very Caxias, and that is in honor of the Duke of Caxias, because supposedly he was very by the book. But this expression should also be attributed, if you ask me, to Admiral Tamandaré, because he was equally by the book and very ethical. He also deserved the title. He was already the son of a captain. Ever since he was little, he traveled with his father, and he had his eye on the maneuvers of the boats and on the sea practices, daily life at sea and all of that. Then, after the independence of Brazil was proclaimed, when the Navy was organized by Dom Pedro I, he immediately volunteered, and mind you, he was 15 years old at this point. By the way, it's a very common thing among people in the armed forces. They begin very early, and this is to this day. Young men as young as 15 already can study in the schools specific of the armed forces. The naval school that I already spoke about in the very first video that I made on this channel is equivalent to a university level, but there is also Colégio Naval in Portuguese. I don't know what the other name would be, because in Portuguese it's escola and colégio, but the Colégio Naval is a high school degree. So you can start there as young as 15 years old, because that's normally when high school begins, at least here in Brazil. And back then, it was no different. He enlisted as a volunteer, and he already was on the frigate, I should say, Niterói, as a practicing pilot under the command of Admiral John Taylor. Then, furthermore, he got in the Academy of the Marine Guards. I'm translating literally from Portuguese, forgive me. I don't know the technical terms for this in English. If anyone knows, leave it in the comment section below. I would love to know. So, He got into the Academy of the Marine Guards, but he abandoned it in 1824, not because he gave up, but because, you see, if you remember from previous videos, this was a time of a lot of turbulence and revolutions here in Brazil. So he abandoned it because of the revolution, which was already taking place, which would lead up to the Confederação do Equador, which I already spoke in past videos as well. And in order to participate in this revolution under the command of Lord Cochrane, you can see that he was very active. There was no sitting idly by with this particular admiral. He returned to the academy, and soon after he returned, in 1826, thanks to recommendations from Admiral Taylor, which he was under the command of before in the frigate Niterói, he was promoted to second lieutenant and removed to the wars of the South. Could be either the War of Cisplatina, which I mentioned in the video about the Paraguay War, but he had a very remarkable participation in all of the major activities done by the Navy at this point, and even in the Farroupilha Revolution. However, in this Farroupilha Revolution was when he was faced with an ethical issue, because, you see, this revolution would mean for him fighting against people who were born in the same place where he was born. He was also from the South. He wasn't very comfortable fighting his fellow statesmen, I suppose I could say. So he asked to be dismissed from this revolution, which he was allowed to do, but as I said before, there was no shortages of revolutions at this point, so he was sent to the north to fight in Balaiada Revolution.
You don't want to fight in the south? No problem, we'll send you up north. There's also fighting going on over there.
Furthermore, in 1850, Dom Pedro II gave him the title of Baron. Now was the time to receive noble titles. Means you're doing your job right. Now you may be wondering, what was his participation in the Paraguay War? Firstly, he commanded the naval fleet in the Prata River in 1864, and he ordered the blockage of the Uruguay River and occupied the ports of Salto in Uruguay and of Paysandu in south of Brazil. And when the war actually began, he ordered that the Paraguay River be blocked, and he was there with Dom Pedro II when the city of Uruguaiana was taken back from the Paraguayans. I mentioned this, by the way, in the video about the Paraguay War. The city of Uruguaiana had been taken over by the Paraguayan army, and Admiral Tamandaré was with Dom Pedro II in the battlefront, taking back the city of Uruguaiana in 1865. Continuing, he also commanded the fleet at Riachuelo. That also got me confused because in my research, it was written that Admiral Barroso was the one that commanded the fleet. That is also correct. The thing is that Admiral Barroso was actually a commodore at this time. He was beneath Admiral Tamandaré in terms of hierarchy. So at one point while the fight was going on, Admiral Tamandaré passed the command of the fleet to Commodore at this time, later I believe Admiral Barroso. And it was in fact Admiral Barroso who turned the tables and won the battle, as I explained before in the video about the Paraguay War. But going back to Admiral Tamandaré, when he turned 80 years old, he received the title of Count, and in 1888 he received the title of Marquis. And 2 months after the proclamation of the Republic, he asked to retire, but they didn't allow him. He remained in the post of Minister of the Supreme Military Court, which exists to this day in Brazil, and he took leave of this court just a few days after his death, which was in Rio in March 20th, 1897. This was literally a guy who died working, I guess you could say. Other interesting facts about him is that the day of his birth, which is December 13th, is to this day a day of celebration, especially in the Navy, because it is the Day of the Sailors here in Brazil. Ahoy! Furthermore, he is the patron of the War Navy in Brazil. You can see, as I said before, he is very much respected and very much remembered to this day. This concludes this video about Admiral Tamandaré. And I hope you liked the video, and if you did like the video, be sure to hit that like button, then after that, hit that subscribe button, but most importantly, share this video with as many people as you possibly can, so that each time more people may know about the wonders of the wonderful city. And, as usual in this channel, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!